Behind the scenes of an Espresso Martini shoot. What's up YouTube, and welcome back to my channel. On this channel I talk about everything to do with food and product photography. If that interests you, then click subscribe down below. This week I am back with another behind the scenes shoot, and this one is a really great one because it's an Espresso Martini, so that's combining cocktails and coffee. So I mean, that's just a match made in heaven. You guys really like my behind the scenes shoot, so while I was taking this image I filmed everything so I could do a quick behind the scenes video for you guys. I've just finished a series on creating your own home studio, so this image was taken in my home studio, just like all of the images you see on my Instagram, my website and my channel here. If you are interested in creating your own home studio, then click this link up here for that series. During this series, I mentioned that having a home photography studio is great because if you've got an idea, you just need to go into the part of your home that is your home studio and you can get started. If you had an external studio, you'd have to get in your car, drive there, and if that idea strikes you at say 10 o'clock at night, you're probably not going to do it. You'll be like, I'll wait till the morning, but by then your creative juices might have gone down a little bit. That is exactly what happened to me with this shoot I'm about to show you. I was sat enjoying an Espresso Martini one Sunday night. I know that sounds really strange, but if you've got the means to make it, just make one. And when sat there watching my crime TV shows, which I love a good crime TV show, I just decided that I'd really like to photograph the drink I was drinking. Not the one I had at the time because it was probably nearly empty, but make a new one and photograph it. And that is exactly what I did. Usually with my shoots, I will spend a day planning them, spend a day looking at inspiration, that sort of thing. That didn't happen with this shoot, which is very rare for me. But sometimes if the inspiration strikes you, you just go with it, you just roll with it. If you do want to understand more about how I plan my shoots out for normal shoots, then I would check up the link that I'll pop up here, all about how I plan my shoots. Even though this shoot wasn't planned, the planning process still happened. It was just more in my head than on paper. I still thought about exactly what lenses and lights I was going to use, so that's what I'm going to go through with you guys now. So for this shoot, I use my usual artificial light. Firstly, I use artificial light for a lot of my shoots because it gives you a lot more control and you can decide exactly how your light is going to look. Another reason was because, like I said, this was about 10 o'clock at night. I am in Scotland. As you'll probably notice, it was pitch black outside. So this here is another really important thing about artificial light. If you want to just start shooting as soon as some inspiration sparks your fancy, then you're going to really need to look at artificial light because for all you know, it could be striking you at 2 o'clock in the morning and it's obviously going to be black outside. As for the style of lighting in this shoot, I went with a hard light, so just a small hard reflector onto my artificial light. I wanted to go for something really bold and minimalist. That hard light gives the crispness to the drinks and a bit more interesting shadows going on in the image, which you'll soon see when I start setting up the scene. As for lenses, I used my 105mm macro lens. This is a great lens for food and drink photography. Even if you're not shooting a macro shot, the crispness and the detail in that lens is just, it's second to none. It's such a good lens. Also, you'll find that the 100 to 105 macro lenses, they have a really nice compression to them. So you're not going to get any of the distortion as if you were shooting at, say, 50mm. This is really important when it comes to shooting drinks because if you've got a bit of distortion, your glass is going to sort of look like it's falling over. Maybe not that dramatically, but just a little bit, and it really annoys me. My idea for this shoot was going to be quite minimal and bold. I wanted some strong shadows, which is why I'm using a hard light. I want some really strong, interesting shadows. They're going to fill a lot of that empty space, but it's still going to feel quite simple. My original idea for this was to have it on a solid black background, so black behind it and black underneath it. For this, I was going to use some black paper, so I've got one of the big black rolls of paper and I just cut bits down to size. I wanted the cocktail to be sat in a sort of spotlight of light, so I was using flags to make that hard light even smaller, creating a very directional beam of light. after a few tries and a little bit of time spent on this, it wasn't what I was thinking of in my mind. I swapped the bottom out for a concrete effect vinyl. This can happen on shoots. Sometimes you'll have something in your mind and you're trying to do it and it's just not looking how you imagined or how you wanted. And we just make small tweaks until we get something we're happy with. With this new background on, the shadow I was looking for stood out a lot more. It was a really nice contrast between the dark shadow and the lighter background, which just filled that empty area to the right of the image. Creating dead space in an image is a really nice way to add focus onto your subject, but it's also nice to have the sort of like the shadows fill in that space. It's sort of like a secondary element. It's something interesting, but clearly not the focal point of an image. The shadow also helps create a leading line into your drink, helping viewers stay focused on that drink for that little bit longer. I also created another leading line by having the background on a slight angle, so it's creating a line into the drink and then the shadow is creating another one in, and which also creates a triangle. Creating triangles in your image is a really good way to again keep that viewer's eye on that main subject. After swapping out that background, I was instantly much happier with the image I'd created. I tweaked the height of the light a little bit to create the shadow that I was looking for. Too high and it was going to be really short. I wanted a really nice long shadow because it was meant to be a really interesting part of the image, but too long and it was going to be going off the image, which also we didn't want because we wanted to be able to see the nice shape of the glass in the shadow as well as in the glass in the image. When shooting with hard light, you'll find that the shadows in the image can be really important. Maybe not as important as the subject, but very close. A lot more important than when shooting with soft light, because the shadows are just soft and wishy-washy. With hard light, they create some really interesting shapes and reflections, and that is a big part of a hard light image. If you want some more tips on hard light photography, how to light them, how the light can change the shadows, then check out this video up here where I go on about all different types of hard light and how to create the shadows you're looking for. The angle I used for this shot was somewhere between 45 to 75 degrees. I didn't measure it exactly, I just kind of eyeballed it to when I was happy. This is a really nice angle for drinks because, especially when we're using something high, we get to see the interest on the top of the drink and we get to see the height of the drink. Even though I'm just shooting with an empty glass at the moment, when this is full, it's going to have a really nice foam on top and some coffee beans. We want to see that, but we also want to be able to see that it's a nice tall drink. Now I'm happy with the lighting, the positioning. It's time to get the drink ready. It's time to make that cocktail. It's important to make sure we've got all of this stuff ready before we start pouring our drink, because once it's sat there, the condensation is going to sort of drip and look not quite fresh, and you might lose some of the foam on top as well. Your best image of the cocktail is always going to be the first few. As soon as it's sat there for a little while, it's just not going to look so fresh or appealing. As you can see here, this was like one of the very first images I took, and then this was after the drink had been sat a bit. I've zoomed in so you can definitely see the difference in the condensation there. The first image is a lot fresher looking. The second image, when it's been sat there for a while, it's looking a little bit sad and drippy. If you think your drink isn't quite perfect, don't be afraid to make it again. I made this drink twice. The first one, I just didn't feel like that foam was thick enough. And also make it again if you think it's been sat there too long. Also make it again if you want more than one espresso martinis to drink at the end of the shoot. Now we've got our main hero image, the one that I had in my mind from the beginning, the one that I'm really happy with. It's time to sort of change things around and get a few extra images. I tried to get one with my husband's hand in there, and I also got a nice macro shot of the coffee bean sat on top, because who doesn't love a macro shot of coffee beans? I was really happy with the outcome of this shoot. It's not often that I just go off and start shooting things on a whim without planning. So I was really happy to actually get something I really liked out of this shoot. Just goes to show you that having a home studio and being able to just go off and photograph something on a whim is really important when starting your own photography business. Let me know if you've got any questions about this shoot, or if you've got anything you'd like me to add to the behind the scenes videos that I create here. I'll see you all in next week's video, guys. Bye! So if you are interested in creating your own home